today I want to talk to you guys about genetically modified foods. And I was wondering what you guys think of when you think of the word genetically modified anything. Do you think of like zombie fruit? Do you think of like blue tomatoes or like different colored carrots? Here I have some pictures of some I looked up online some weird fruit. I don't think half this stuff exists.
Whoa, look at this strawberry, banana.
So I want a few questions that I want to answer for you guys today is what does it mean to actually be genetically modified? Why are these things nothing to be afraid of? And how does this actually pertain to us as students and us as people in general? The first question, what does it mean to be genetically modified? When something is genetically modified, scientists have actually been able to go into plants and food and actually change specific genes within that plant. And in doing this, they're able to reinforce certain characteristics of these plants or take characteristics from other plants and put them into different plants. So like if one plant is really good at growing in the cold, or if one thing's really resistant to herbicides or pesticides or can grow with little water, they're able to take these genes and actually put them into other plants so that they can actually grow in the same conditions as the other plant. And everything that's genetically modified, I want you guys to think of as it's internal, it's never external. So if you're growing something with herbicides or pesticides, that has nothing to do with the modification of the fruit. That's just how it's grown. So this is a picture of an actually genetically modified tomato. It was modified to have more taste and be able to grow in areas with less water. These are things that are absolutely not to be afraid of, because when people go in to modify these, they just change one thing about them. They don't change the base of the fruit or of the vegetable. They don't mess with the nutritional value or anything like that. They just locate the genes that have to do with the resistance to things and things like that, and they change those. So it shouldn't have any effect on your body. One of the coolest things that they're actually working on right now with genetically modified fruits and organisms is that they're actually trying to make carrots and tomatoes and potatoes actually hold vaccines. So they've almost created a way to put vaccines into these fruits and vegetables, which would actually be really, really cool if they succeeded in doing it, because then they would be really easy to ship and really easy to hand out to third world countries, and therefore it would make getting out the general vaccinations much, much easier, much more efficient. And also, these genetically modified fruits are already out in the market. They're everywhere. And they're nothing to be afraid of, because they've gone through all the FDA testing for foods, which are very stringent, and so these things are completely safe. Now I'm going to address a few problems with GMOs, because I'm sure you guys are still a little bit skeptical about messing with the genes and DNA of plants. So the two big problems I see with genetically modified organisms is that companies are able to create something called terminator cells, and GMOs have only been around for about 5 to 10 years. Now, a terminator cell is something where plants are actually created now. They've genetically modified wheat to be able to grow in less water and all that, but they've also made it so that farmers cannot collect the seeds of the crop and regrow their fields. That means that these seeds that this wheat creates is only fertile for 1 year. And so what happens with that is the farmers, once they start using this, they become dependent on the company, because they have to rebuy every year seeds from the company. They're never self-sufficient anymore. And obviously, as you can see, this could create giant profits for these companies as the world gets more dependent on these organisms. But I feel like the government could pass a law to take care of that. And the only other thing is that they've only been around for around 5 to 10 years, so we're not exactly sure for long-term effects of what this can have on people. So there hasn't been any testing on that, because they just haven't been around long enough. Now, how does it pertain to you guys as an audience, as students? These can save you a lot of money, because if you think about it, these can grow now in places we used to think were useless for planting crops. You can plant these in deserts, you can plant these anywhere. And so all this useless land, they can't grow crops before, can now grow crops. If you think about this could solve hunger issues throughout the world. And also, another way that it can save you money is you can stay away from organics as much, because I feel like genetically modified, the word itself scares people, but it's actually not a scary thing. And so these organics are just, they're jacking up their prices for no reason. And the conclusion of this is that the best thing about the future is it only comes one day at a time. That comes from Abraham Lincoln. And I wanted to say this because these are really cool. This is really cool science, but you gotta take it one step at a time. If we go too quickly into it, I feel like that's when the problems could arise. Right now, I think it's cool. It's healthy for you. I think it really have the potential to change the world, because if they're able to create vaccines within these foods or plants, if they're able to grow these in deserts and sun and whatever, then you could really solve, I feel like, the world's hunger issues and things like that. So I hope you guys are no longer scared of the word like genetically modified anything, and are actually excited for the future of this.